Good evening, Florida, and welcome to Coastal Conservative News, where truth has a backbone and freedom still has a home.
We're bringing you the bold stories and the real headlines and the voices that matter most, right here from the heart of the free state of Florida, from Tallahassee to the Suncoast.
We're tracking the political shifts, community victories, and constitutional battles shaping the future of our state and our great nation.
So buckle up, it's time to get informed, get fired up, and get involved.
This is CCN, Coastal Conservative News. Hi, guys, and welcome to Coastal Conservative News. We're glad you guys joined us today. Allie and I have a ton to get through. Plus, don't forget you're going to hear from Camden Bettinghouse later in this hour and Kevin Gamble. So, Allie, let's go ahead and get started.
All right. This week, public safety was front and center in Tampa, especially in Ybor City, where residents showed up to a town hall demanding answers about rising crime and how law enforcement is being allowed to respond.
Yeah, one of the biggest points of tension was Florida Highway Patrol pursuit policy. Residents are frustrated because while they want safer streets, they're also worried about policies that limit officers' ability to actually stop criminals, especially repeat offenders who know how to exploit without hesitation.
Oh my goodness. And that's the real issue here. Criminals adapt quickly. When enforcement policies become predictable or overly restrictive, bad actors learn exactly how far they can push before consequences kick in, if they ever do.
For Floridians, this isn't abstract. Ybor is an entertainment district. People want to enjoy restaurants, nightlife, and community events without worrying about disorder or whether police are being second-guessed in real time.
At the kitchen table level, the question is simple. Are public safety policies designed around protecting law-abiding families or managing optics for activists and lawsuits? If you live in the city of Tampa, we encourage you to call your city council members and have this conversation.
Absolutely. That's local action, right?
Yes.
All right, guys. On a much brighter note, the Florida State Fair officially opens this week in Tampa, running from February 5th through the 16th.
And this isn't just about funnel cakes and rides, those matter too. Oh, I just I'm so hungry. The fair is one of the biggest ways Florida connects families back to agriculture, livestock, and the people who grow and raise our food.
Yeah, it's also a major economic driver. Local vendors, seasonal workers, farmers, and small businesses all benefit. In a time when families are watching every dollar, events like this really matter.
This is Florida culture done right. Family-friendly, local, and rooted in real community, not corporate branding.
I love that. And for our Suncoast viewers, Localtopia returns to St. Pete on February 14th, Valentine's Day, with more than 300 local businesses showcased in one place.
This is one of those events that perfectly captures the idea of keeping dollars local. When you shop small, you're supporting families and not faceless corporations.
It's kind of important. It's also a reminder that Florida's strength isn't just policy, it's people. Entrepreneurs, artists, and community leaders who build something meaningful right where they live.
All right, shifting gears to Maha, our health and wellness segment. Now we need to slow things down just a little bit. Okay, because this story matters deeply to parents across Florida.
A bill moving through the legislature, Senate Bill 1756, is being framed as expanding vaccine choice. But when you actually read the language, that promise doesn't fully hold up.
Floridians were promised no vaccine mandates, period, full stop. Vaccines available if parents choose, but never forced, never coerced, and never buried in bureaucracy.
What the bill actually does is add another opt-out form instead of protecting parents from mandates altogether.
And that distinction matters because adding layers of paperwork doesn't remove mandates, it just changes who bears the burden.
Yeah, parents shouldn't have to navigate multiple exemptions, forms, or administrative hurdles just to exercise a right they were told was already protected.
This is where people start asking uncomfortable but necessary questions. Why add complexity instead of clarity? Why expand administrative control instead of limiting it?
And yes, it's fair to ask whether large pharmaceutical lobbying dollars are influencing this approach, because when policy protects systems instead of families, trust erodes.
And at the kitchen table, this comes down to one thing. Medical decisions for children belong to parents, not schools, not agencies, and not legislators trying to thread a political needle.
That's right. Okay, shifting to environment, Florida Fish and Wildlife released its latest red tide report, confirming active samples along parts of the Gulf Coast. Although with the chilly weather, I don't know who's going to the beach right now. Just saying.
I know.
Just saying.
Now, for families living or working near the water, this affects everything: breathing issues, beach access, fishing, livelihoods, and tourism dollars.
What matters most is transparency and timely reporting, so communities can plan instead of just being blindsided.
Fact.
Oh, are we moving on to pythons?
Yes, we are.
I'm leaving.
FWC also released results from the Florida Python Challenge with nearly 300 invasive Burmese pythons removed from the Everglades.
This isn't a gimmick, guys. Invasive species threaten native wildlife, water systems, and the ecological balance that Florida depends on. Plus, they gross me out.
Protecting the Everglades isn't an environmental talking point. It's protecting Florida's future. We do it well here.
We do it. We can do it without those pythons. Quick sports update, guys. The Miami Heat fell to the Atlanta Hawks this week, while the Orlando Magic struggled in a blowout loss to Oklahoma City.
Both teams are facing consistency issues, especially defensively, as the season tightens.
That's right. Moving to the NFL. Why do I always get the NFL? It's like somebody knows my Bears aren't going into the offseason. Okay.
SSA.
In NFL news, Florida teams, the ones around where we live, are already shaping up for next season. Now, the Miami Dolphins and Tampa Bay Buccaneers have both made significant coaching and coordinator changes that we joked that, I don't know, is
Marco Rubio one of them? Maybe. You might see him. Keep your eyes peeled. Now, these decisions don't show up on the scoreboard immediately, but they determine culture, player development, and whether teams stay competitive long term.
Yeah, this is where championships are built or lost, really.
We're keeping an eye out.
Absolutely.
Okay, now that's your week in review. And when we come back, we're taking it local with our Suncoast Community with stories, people, and events from right here along the Gulf Coast. Keep it right here on CCN.
From the heart of Marietta, Georgia, comes a tribute to the spirit of liberty. Liberty Cigars, where history meets craftsmanship. Each cigar tells a story. The Founders Collection honors the visionaries who shaped a nation. The President's House Collection celebrates the leaders who steered it. And the Naval Series salutes the heroes who defended it. Handcrafted with precision, each blend mirrors the essence of its namesake. From the boldness of George Washington to the elegance of Thomas Jefferson. Indulge in a moment of reflection. Light a Liberty cigar and savor the legacy. Discover your story at libertycigars.com, because every great nation deserves a great cigar. Liberty Cigars, smoke the history. And don't forget to use promo code OPENMIC for 10% off your order.
All right, welcome back to CCN. Before we close out today, we want to slow things down for a moment because not every important story comes out of Tallahassee or Washington.
Yeah, some of the most meaningful stories are happening right here in our communities, quietly, without headlines and without asking for attention.
All right, across the Suncoast and throughout Florida, local animal shelters are reporting a surge in adoptions following recent community adoption drives.
They're so cute.
I know.
Some shelters even reported clearing out kennels for the weekend, senior dogs finding homes, families welcoming new pets, and veterans being paired with companion animals.
This makes all the difference at a time when budgets are tight and life feels maybe a little heavy.
Yeah.
Floridians are still choosing responsibility, compassion, and long-term commitment.
Which tells you something about the heart of the state, really.
Oh, for sure. Now we're also seeing in local communities step up for teachers, with parents and small businesses pooling funds to surprise educators with classroom grants and supplies.
That's pretty cool. Not mandates, not politics, just neighbors recognizing that teachers are often reaching into their own pockets to support students.
Which we need to end that, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe the teachers' unions need to stop holding up funding. I'm just
saying. I was going to say, because teachers don't do it for the love of money. They do it for the love of children. We have to remember that.
Exactly. And it's always a reminder that education doesn't start with bureaucracy. It starts with community support and mutual respect.
I love that. I love that. Okay. In another encouraging story, guys, Florida high school students have been organizing meal deliveries for the elderly and homebound neighbors in their community.
Now, these aren't school requirements or resume builders. It's students choosing service, learning empathy, and understanding that community means responsibility to others.
That's right. That's character development, and you can't teach it from a textbook.
Exactly. Okay, and finally, a local veterans group recently came together to restore the home of an elderly widow, repairing damage she couldn't afford to fix on her own.
No press conference, no politics, just service, the same way they've always served.
It's a quiet reminder that the values that built this country, service, sacrifice, and neighbor helping neighbor, are still very much alive here in the free state of Florida.
That's right. These stories don't always trend. They don't always go viral.
But they matter because they show who we are when no one is forcing us to care.
That's right. And that's the Florida we're proud to call home, guys.
All right, and that's your end of Suncoast Community. And when we come back, we'll shift from local impact to statewide and national decision-making on Political Pulse. We'll be right back after this.
They call masculinity toxic, but the truth is, God calls it sacred. My name is Camden Bettinghouse, and I've seen how the world takes what God meant for us as men and turn it into this thing called toxic masculinity. I wrote Fearless Masculinity because my generation's been lied to. We've been told to sit down, stay quiet, and apologize for being men. This world doesn't need weaker men. It needs men who are willing to stand up and become fearless. Men who protect their families, serve their communities, and live without fear. Fearless Masculinity is a roadmap to discover who God truly made you to be as a man. It's about rediscovering purpose, building courage, and stepping into who God truly calls you to be. If you're tired of being called toxic just for being a man, and you're tired of shrinking back, tired of silence, this book is for you. Are you ready to step up? If you are, go to CamdenBettinghouse.com to get more information and become a fearless man of God.
Welcome back to CCN. Now tonight on Political Pulse, Florida lawmakers quietly file election integrity bills that could reshape how voters registration works statewide.
Yes, plus Governor DeSantis signals once again that he's willing to use executive authority, including a special session, to force action instead of waiting on a slow-moving legislature.
And courts are increasingly stepping in as a de facto policymaker, blocking or reshaping laws voters never got a chance to weigh in on.
We call that legislating from the bench.
Exactly.
These stories and what they mean for who actually governs Florida are starting right now, guys.
Right now. Get ready. All right, as we begin Political Pulse with the governor's agenda this week, where the focus remains on continuity, enforcement, and state-level guardrails.
Governor DeSantis signed several executive order extensions related to emergency management and administrative continuity. These are not headline grabbers, those orders, but they matter because they keep state operations stable while long-term policy is debated by the legislature.
This is an important reminder of how Florida's systems is designed to work. Executive orders are temporary tools. Lawmaking belongs to the legislature, and long-term policy changes are meant to move through the legislative process, not permanent executive action.
Yeah, for Florida families, this separation matters. It prevents sudden swings in policy and keeps major decisions accountable to elected lawmakers, not unilateral authority.
So we're keeping an eye on that. All right. Now switching gears to the Attorney General, James Uthmeier, who announced multiple enforcement actions this week focused on child exploitation and violent offenders.
Yeah, these cases are a continuation of Florida's posture that public safety begins with protecting the most vulnerable, especially children, and aggressively prosecuting those who prey on them.
This is not symbolic enforcement. These are arrests, prosecutions, and convictions, and they reflect a state-level priority that aligns with what most families expect government to do first.
That's why we love it here. And at your kitchen table, guys, this is about trust. Parents want to know that when the state says it prioritizes children's safety, that commitment is backed by action, not just words.
Are very much supportive in James Uthmeier's attempts to curtail this
Absolutely.
behavior.
Not in our state.
All right, now let's turn to Senate Bill 408 and its House Companion Bill 339, but from a different angle than we discussed earlier in Maha.
Yeah, what makes this bill significant is not just advertising language. It is the introduction of potential civil liability for vaccine-related injury at the state level. Hallelujah.
Right. If this bill passes, Florida would be stepping into territory no state has meaningfully occupied since 1986.
I mean, I guess that's what we do. We lead the way here. That's when Congress passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, which granted pharmaceutical manufacturers broad liability protections and moved vaccine injury claims into a federal compensation program instead of traditional courts.
For nearly 40 years, that federal framework has shielded manufacturers from direct civil lawsuits, even as vaccine schedules expanded and pharmaceutical companies' profits grew.
That's right. SB 408 cracks that wall. It creates a state-level pathway that could allow civil action tied to harm connecting to vaccine advertising and promotion.
That matters because once liability enters the conversation, transparency follows, discovery follows, accountability follows.
And we should all be in favor of that. It also applies pressure beyond Florida. If one state demonstrates that civil liability is possible, it reignites a national conversation about whether that 1986 federal liability shield should still exist in its current form.
And at the kitchen table, this isn't about ideology. It's about balance and accountability.
If a product causes harm, families expect accountability. And for decades, vaccine injury has existed in a legal category unlike other pharmaceutical products.
Exactly. And SB 408 does not repeal the 1986 Act. Florida cannot do that on its own, but it does shine a light on a system that has operated with very little daylight for a very long time.
Yeah, and once light is introduced, Allie, pressure follows.
And that is why this bill is being watched closely, not just in Tallahassee, but nationally. Okay, moving on.
Oh, we're going to get into some Second Amendment.
Know.
Now, when we talk about Second Amendment in the state of Florida, obviously we're very strong in our Second Amendment protections, but this is a little bit different, isn't it?
This is very different. Now, speaking of blanket liability, the second major legislative issue involves House Bill 1551 and Senate Bill 1748, often referred to in the media as the Sig Sauer liability bills.
Okay, so these bills do not ban lawsuits outright. What they do is limit what kind of evidence can be used in civil cases against firearm manufacturers.
Specifically, the absence of certain safety features or mechanisms could no longer be used as evidence to prove defective design or negligence if those features are not required under federal law.
Now, supporters argue that this protects lawful commerce and prevents politically motivated lawfare, we never have any of that, against firearm manufacturers.
Opponents argue it could limit accountability in cases where firearms are alleged to discharge without a trigger pull, particularly in relation to the Sig Sauer P320 controversy.
Yeah, this is where the conversation gets more nuanced than headlines allow.
Florida is a strong Second Amendment state, but Florida is also a law and order state, and those principles sometimes collide when product liability intersects with public safety.
So at your kitchen table, guys, families are asking two questions at once. Do we protect lawful manufacturers from abuse lawsuits, and do we preserve a path for accountability when real harm is alleged?
How the legislature answers that balance will matter far beyond this session.
Absolutely.
Make sure you're calling your legislators to ask about this bill.
That's right.
All right, now turning now to education, where politics spilled directly into Florida schools this week.
Yeah, ICE-related walkouts occurred at multiple Florida schools.
Wait, hold on. I thought politics were not in our schools.
Oh, no. But activism sure is alive and well. There were walkouts across the state with students leaving class in protest of federal immigration enforcement. And this is what I think really is alarming, especially in Sarasota County, is when you see who's behind the push for these walkouts. It's not organic or led by students. It is organizations like the PSL, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, a communist party that are now infiltrating in through our schools. And it's very dangerous.
Well, so far it's been Sarasota County, Broward County, and we have, I think it's Orlando. We have some in Orlando.
Probably.
And we have Hillsborough County as well. So this triggered swift responses from House Republicans and the Florida Commissioner of Education, who sent letters making it clear that schools are not political staging grounds.
Yeah, the message was simple. Instructional time is not optional. Remember that word called truancy?
Yes.
Political demonstrations during school hours disrupt education and undermine parental trust. Can you imagine dropping your child off? We've seen videos on social media from other states, people dropping their children off to school and then getting like some update that they're at some protest somewhere down the street. That's not what you expect when you drop your children off at school.
Exactly, and this is not about students having options
or opinions.
Or opinions. It is about adults and activist groups encouraging minors to engage in political protest during instructional time.
You know what would be amazing? It would be amazing, since politics don't belong in school or on school boards. Every school board member across the state should make a public statement saying, we would encourage you to stay in school, keep your grades up, keep being civically engaged in school, and any organized protest you want to do should just be after school hours.
You know, Michelle, we have the complete opposite of that. We have candidates that are running for school board that are literally having press conferences talking about ICE walkouts.
Absolutely.
This is egregious.
It is. But at your kitchen table, guys, parents are asking why their children are being pulled into national politics conflicts instead of being taught reading, math, and civics.
Exactly. We will briefly note that House Bill 1071 is also moving through the legislature. It is a broad education bill that additional review is needed before drawing firm conclusions about alignment with parental rights and educational standards. So make sure you read that bill.
Yeah, we will continue to track it carefully.
Absolutely. Okay, now before we close out Political Pulse, we want to take a moment to look at national policy wins from the Trump administration and how they are showing up for Florida families right now, especially during tax season.
Yay! One of the most immediate impacts is tax relief. The Trump administration has moved forward with extending and reinforcing tax cuts that directly affect working families, small businesses, and retirees. That benefits Florida a lot.
Absolutely. And for many Floridians, this means lower effective tax rates, larger standard deductions, and more money staying in household budgets instead of being sent to Washington.
Yeah, this matters in a state like Florida, where many families are already carrying higher costs tied to housing, insurance, and inflation-driven price increases.
Come in Doge and FAFO. When Florida tax policy reduces pressure instead of adding to it, families feel that relief immediately, not years down the road.
Yeah, small business owners feel it too. Lower tax burdens mean more flexibility to hire, invest, or simply stay afloat in a challenging economy.
Internationally, economic stability has always played a role here. Policies that prioritize American energy production and domestic manufacturing help insulate Florida consumers from global price shocks.
Yeah, that translates to more predictable fuel prices, steadier supply chains, and fewer surprises at the grocery store.
Now, at the kitchen table, this is what a good policy looks like. Not slogans, but breathing room.
And as families filed their taxes this season, many are seeing firsthand the difference between an administration that views taxpayers as partners and one that treats them as an unlimited funding source. Joe Biden.
That distinction matters, especially in a state built on working families, retirees, and small businesses like Florida. And this is all thanks to the one big beautiful bill that passed last year.
That's right. Thank a local conservative near you.
Okay, now to government accountability and Florida Accountability of Financial Oversight, or FAFO.
FAFO. Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ngoglia released findings pointing to tens of millions of dollars in excessive and wasteful spending in the city of St. Petersburg.
This matters because local government spending directly impacts property taxes and cost of living for families.
Yeah, FAFO is not about partisan politics. It's about transparency. Floridians deserve to know how their tax dollars are being spent and whether those dollars are delivering real results. It's your return on investment, right?
Yes, and this is exactly the kind of oversight that connects Tallahassee decisions to kitchen table realities. Now, friends, did you know there is an initiative coming out of the Chief Financial Officer's office that ties community safety and financial oversight together in a way many Floridians have not heard about yet, but will soon feel in their daily lives.
Okay, Florida Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ngoglia recently announced a legislative package aimed at strengthening the state's stance against illegal immigration by targeting economic incentives and access to state-regulated financial systems.
One of the provisions in the proposed legislation would prohibit undocumented immigrants or illegal aliens from using certain forms of identification to open bank accounts or obtain cashier's checks at state-chartered financial institutions. These are banks regulated under Florida law rather than federal charters, and the state has the authority to set licensing standards for them.
Wow. In this practice, this means that if someone is in the country illegally and uses identification tied to that status, state-regulated banks could be prevented from opening accounts for them. The legislation also includes measures to prohibit access to down payment assistance programs and certain mortgage support, and to ensure companies that hire undocumented workers bear responsibility for workers' compensation claims rather than the taxpayers. Oh my gosh, what did they uncover?
I know. Supporters of the package argue these measures will strengthen accountability and disclosure illegal immigration by removing economic benefits that could otherwise serve as incentives. They also hold that taxpayers should not subsidize services or programs that are intended to benefit law-abiding citizens if others who are not legally present are able to access them.
Yeah, critics, of course, there's critics, have raised concerns that restricting access to banking could push some residents, but they're here illegally, into unregulated financial systems where theft and exploitation are more common, and that families in mixed status situations may face unintended consequences. It's really simple. Yeah. If you're here legally, you have access to being able to open a bank account.
Exactly. And legally means if you have a visa, then this is not going to affect you. But if you are here illegally, this 100% will affect you. So, what is clear right now is that this proposed legislation shifts the focus from traditional immigration enforcement alone toward financial accountability and taxpayer protection. Why wouldn't we want to protect our taxpayers, the citizens of this state? By linking access to state-regulated financial systems with legal status, the CFO's office is pushing a new type of policy tool that lawmakers, banks, and Floridians will need to consider carefully.
Absolutely. From the kitchen table, guys, many families may not realize how financial regulation intersects with immigration enforcement. But this shows how government accountability can extend beyond law enforcement into areas like banking, housing assistance, and workers' protections. And we just saw that there was a ton of fraud even through the U.S. Department of Education, almost like the auto pen, only for stealing your education dollars. So it makes sense.
And there's been a lot of fraud across many aspects, including the housing. And food assistance, housing assistance and food assistance, right? Yeah. So we will continue to follow this legislation as it progresses and track its potential effects on banking practices, employer responsibilities, and local communities across Florida. All right, you guys. Well, that's it for Political Pulse.
When we come back, Camden Beddinghouse brings us Cam in the Moment. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
We are here to get an IV.
An IV. I heard you have an IV room?
Yeah, absolutely. You just head right back this way.
Awesome. Thank you. Knock, knock. Hello. Hello. Hi, I'm Michelle.
I'm Sarah.
Sarah. This
Hi,
is Al.
Allie. Nice to see you.
How can I help you?
We're stressed. We're moms. We've got multitasking going on. I feel like I fall victim to like a brain fog a little bit. I don't know if that's my age or whatnot.
You need a little bit of clarity, a little bit of energy.
Yep.
Is
Right?
there an IV that you would recommend for that?
Of course.
Thank you.
We call this the brainstorm.
The brainstorm.
The brainstorm.
Come visit We the People Health and Wellness Center,
Where medical freedom exists.
Welcome to Cam in the Moment here on Coastal Conservative News. My name is Camden, and here are your week's biggest moments coming up. All right, guys, welcome back to the segment here on Coastal Conservative News. We got a lot to talk about. I say that every single time because it's true every single week. I mean, there's always a new story. But something amazing went on in Manatee and Sarasota counties this past week. We got to talk about it first because there was a Victims of Communism award ceremony. The organization Victims of Communism Florida held it at the State College of Florida last Friday, and it was a night honoring a bunch of students who committed to making a project of some sort. There were 3 different categories: essays, exhibitories, and auditories about their research on communism, a communist dictator, and the effects it has on countries around the world. And so that organization held it here at the State College of Florida, and it was really cool to see. I was actually there in person attending the event, and the lieutenant governor actually made an appearance, which was really cool. And he, if you guys don't know, he's Jay Collins. He's a candidate for governor now, but he gave his remarks because he actually passed a Florida bill that mandated that Florida public schools provide instruction on the history of communism to all students starting in the 2026-2027 school year. So he was a perfect person to be at this event because that's what he did for the state. And that was a really cool bill that he did. And he actually gave the opening remarks for the event, and he says he basically argued before this that it was necessary to ensure that students learned about this in schools, which I agree with, because if you don't learn it, you don't know how bad it can be. And he talked about how in the legislative process that many young people have a growing positive view of communism, which is scary. And especially for America, we want to make sure that people are knowing the true facts of what's going on. And he described it as leading to totalitarianism and death. So watch what he had to say here.
And I will tell you, the war at home and protecting what we love is the most important task and fight today. I am so grateful for the opportunity to serve 23.5 million people. I am grateful to be here today and talk to each of you. So why is 1264 so critical to our future? Because we have one. Without it, we can lose it. If we fail to teach the truth, all can be lost overnight. Thank you for protecting our freedoms. Thank you for believing in freedom. God bless each of you. God bless the free state of Florida, and may God continue to bless these United States.
I'm just so glad he could be there for this event, because we want to show our appreciation too for what he did for the state of Florida, because communism is definitely something that students should learn about, and I'm glad he was there. Speaking of speakers at the event, there was actually another one, Alex Newman, who is a journalist and a conservative author. He was the keynote speaker of the night, and he gave a great rundown on how horrific communism really is and how threatening it could be to America. So he was the speaker of the night. He gave just a wonderful, he's actually really funny. I've listened to him talk about some serious things, but he's pretty funny when it comes down to it. So that was great. And there were 3 award categories, as I mentioned, the essays, exhibitories, and auditories, and they were awarded to the students there that night. So congratulations to all the students who competed. And I was actually invited to speak and give my closing remarks, so watch a clip here.
I am so proud to be in the United States of America, and Charlie Kirk is so proud of all of you guys tonight. For all the students that researched communism and put their hard work into this, Charlie Kirk is looking down on you and clapping right now. For celebrating hard work and defending freedom and awarding merit and effort. But let's not stop this here. Let's carry our generation into free thinking, into American exceptionalism. Let's be change makers. I'm not much older than you guys. I'm 22 years old. If you're a student in here, I'm not much older than you. But let's be world shakers. Let's be movement starters. Let's embrace the, quote, frigidity of rugged individualism. If you know, you know.
Yeah, congratulations to all the students. I had to mention Charlie Kirk because what he did for Turning Point was amazing. And when it comes down to freedom, he really took the antithesis of communism and lived it out with Turning Point. And he's inspiring so many students still across the nation. So that was really cool. Meanwhile, guys, in other news, Michelle Pozzie, fellow anchor here on CCN, announced her candidacy for School Board of Sarasota County District 5 last weekend at her campaign launch event. We're so excited for her. She actually claims that she's prepared to enter the arena and stands for parents, families, and students. Watch her give her remarks at her campaign opening event.
I would love to work with you. I would love to work with our teachers. I'd love to be able to continue to work with our young people and make Sarasota County the biggest, brightest district in the state of Florida. We can do this. School choice is not a scary thing if we do the right thing as school board members. And so I'm going to have a few other meet and greets from North County down to South County. I'll have those dates coming out soon.
this is a critical seat as the conservative majority is up for re-election here. And there's a leftist, Tom Edwards, you've heard me talk about him before, who stays on the board now, and we're going to have to keep that majority in Sarasota. So if you're in Sarasota County, feel free to get involved with Michelle's campaign. Go to michellepozzie.com. You're going to hear so many things going on in the next few weeks and months leading up to this election. But just so you know, for me here, and as we film here in Sarasota, I want to make it very clear, Michelle Pozzie is the perfect candidate for the school board position. She has been dedicated to the next generation all her life, and she's personally inspired me, and that's why I'm sitting here doing this show right now. So thank you, Michelle, if you're watching this. And guys, we got to end, as always, with our wholesome moment of the week. A dog was reunited with Hernando County family after 5 years, as the sheriff's department actually released a statement about this. There was a dog that they really cared about and lost him. They thought he was gone. So there was actually official statement by them that says, 5 years ago, a simple accident changed everything for Parker and the family who loved him. One evening, when Parker was just 8 years old, someone unknowingly left the back gate open, and curious and gentle by nature, Parker wandered beyond the safety of his yard and never found his way home. And his family searched endlessly, calling his name through the neighborhood, asking neighbors, holding on to hope after that day. But as weeks turned into months and months into years, the heartbreaking reality set in that they eventually let go of the belief that they would ever see their beloved dog again. But as the statement concludes, yesterday, against all odds, Parker's story took a turn no one could have imagined, and they found the dog. I always like to end with a wholesome moment here because there's so many negative stories in the news. We got to ground ourselves. We got to have some positive too. That's why you got to make sure that you're not just consumed by the mainstream media all day long, because they will put fear into you, and you won't even enjoy being alive. That's how a lot of this goes, because you get so caught up in all the drama and the scary things about life that you forget about all the good. So I always like to end with a wholesome moment. Congratulations to the family, and I'm so glad they found Parker, but I think that was a really cool story. Guys, stay up to date here on Coastal Conservative News. We got Cam in the Moment every Friday. If you don't know, we got a website. Go to coastalconservativenews.com, and you can find all the different segments on there. And that's going to be it for me today. We're going to get back to you again with some new news as always, but stay tuned during the week because we got different segments and also breaking news coming all the time. I'll see you guys next Friday on Coastal Conservative News. This has been it for Cam in the Moment.
Thank you, Camden, for shining a light on the victims of communism and for spotlighting local candidate kickoffs.
Hey, Camden might be one of them. As we close out tonight, we shift from the noise of the moment to what grounds us beyond headlines and politics.
After the break, Kevin Gamble joins us with Faith and Focus. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more CCN. They've censored the truth, manipulated the narrative, and told you to sit down and shut up.
But not here, not on our mic.
Open Mic with Ali and Michelle is the podcast where free speech lives, patriotism thrives, and the truth doesn't whisper, it roars.
That's right. We break down the stories the media buries, the policies that threaten your freedom, and the culture chaos Gen Z is waking up to literally every day.
From whistleblower exposés and global conflicts to the spiritual war on masculinity, we don't just talk about it, we say what they won't.
That's right. If you're tired of soft takes, scripted spin, and really plastic politics, it's time to tune in and turn up.
Because this mic is always open.
Welcome back to Faith and Focus. Today we're diving into a profound apologetic tool, the transcendental argument for the existence of God. We'll explore how this argument shows that God isn't just a nice idea, he's the absolute precondition for making sense of anything at all. We'll tie it into the Logos in John 1:1, critique secular worldviews, and see how God grounds logic, morality, nature's uniformity, and even our ability to reason. Stick around, this could change how you see the world. Let's start with the basics. What is the transcendental argument, or TAG for short? It's not your typical proof like showing evidence for a historical event. Instead, it's a presuppositional approach pioneered by thinkers like Cornelius Van Til and Greg Bahnsen. The core idea is this: for the world to be intelligible, meaning for us to make sense of logic, science, ethics, or even debate, certain preconditions must be in place. And those preconditions only make sense if the triune God of the Bible exists. Think about it like this. Imagine trying to play a game without rules. It's pretty chaotic, right? Or building a house on sand. It crumbles. The tag says that without God, our entire framework for understanding reality collapses. God isn't something we prove with logic. He's the foundation for logic itself. This reflects God's nature profoundly. As this eternal, unchanging, all-knowing creator, God embodies perfect rationality and order. He's not arbitrary or chaotic. He's the source of coherence in the universe. This brings us straight to the Bible. In John 1:1 we read, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." That word is the Greek logos, which means more than just speech. It's reason, logic, the organizing principle of the cosmos. John is telling us that Jesus Christ is the divine logos, the eternal mind through whom all things were created and hold together. As Colossians 1:17 puts it, in him all things hold together. So the tag isn't some philosophical invention, it's biblical. God's nature as the logos means that intelligibility, our ability to think, argue, and discover, is a reflection of his rational relational being. Without the logos, there's no logic. Now contrast this with secularism or atheism. These worldviews claim to stand on their own, but the tag exposes their fatal flaw. They have no foundation for the very preconditions of intelligibility. Take an atheist who says, "I don't believe in God, I rely on reason and science." But where does reason come from in a godless universe? If everything is just matter in motion, random atoms bouncing around from a Big Bang, why should we trust that our brains produce reliable thoughts? Charles Darwin himself worried about this, calling it the horrid doubt, that our convictions might be no more trustworthy than a monkey's mind. Atheism actually borrows from theism without admitting it. They use logic to argue against God, but logic assumes universal immaterial laws that don't change. In a purely materialistic world, laws of logic are just brain fizz, subjective and evolving. Why not just say 2 + 2 = 5 if it helps our survival? But atheists act as if logic is absolute, borrowing from the Christian worldview where God, as the unchanging logos, grounds it. Let's break this down a little further. First, the laws of logic, like the law of non-contradiction. Something can't be A and not A at the same time. These aren't physical, they're abstract and universal. In atheism, they're either inventions of human minds, making them subjective, or brute facts like unexplained mysteries. But God, as the rational creator, is the foundation. His mind is the source of logic, reflecting his consistent nature. As Isaiah 1:18 says, "Come now, let's reason together, says the Lord." Second, moral absolutes. Atheists might say morality comes from evolution or society, but that makes it relative. Why is murder wrong universally? If it's just what helps the herd survive, then in some contexts it might not be. But we know deep down it's absolutely wrong. The tag points out that without a transcendent moral lawgiver, God who is holy and just, morality crumbles into preferences. We borrow God's moral framework when we appeal to justice or human rights. Third, uniformity in nature. The assumption that the future will resemble the past, like gravity working tomorrow as it does today. Science depends on this. In atheism, it's just an assumption. Maybe the universe is chaotic underneath. But God, as the faithful sustainer, ensures uniformity. His providence reflects his unchanging character. Finally, human reasoning itself. We're made in God's image, with minds that can grasp truth. In atheism, reasoning is an accident of evolution, untrustworthy for big questions. But the tag shows that only in theism does reasoning make sense. We're designed to think God's thoughts after him. So at the end of the day, secular worldviews are like someone denying gravity while standing on solid ground. They borrow the preconditions of intelligibility from theism to even make their case against it. It's self-defeating. The tag invites us to start with God, not prove him from neutral ground, because there's no neutral ground without him. As we wrap up, remember, this isn't about winning arguments. It's about glorifying the God who makes sense of it all. If you're wrestling with doubt or sharing your faith, lean on the transcendental argument. Dive into John 1 and seek the logos at work. Thanks for joining Faith in Focus. If this resonated, share it with a friend. God bless you all.
Thank you, Kevin, for helping us explore this important topic with clarity, grace, and a heart firmly rooted in Scripture.
And remember, if there's a story happening in your county, your school board, your city council, or your neighborhood, we want to hear from you. Visit us at coastalconservativenews.com or call our tip line 941-487-7441 to share your tips and stories.
Yeah, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay Florida strong.
I'm Allie Lachey.
And I'm Michelle Pozzie, and this is Coastal Conservative News.
Good night, and God bless the free state of Florida.